What is up, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Danny Show. I'm your host, Daniel Cody, and this is where I give commentary and reviews on all things wrestling. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Now, before I get started with tonight's broadcast of reviewing Friday Night Smackdown, I heard a couple of interesting things have been going on. First off, rumor has it Eddie Kingston is quitting AEW. No. Then we got The Rock joking about having guns while Sonya Deville gets arrested for having guns. First off, can you be mad at Sonya for having a gun? If you had a sexual stalker after you, wouldn't you want protection? I mean, I'm not the biggest gun fan, but with all the things that's been going on in the world, but in this case, if you have to have it for protection, can you blame Sonya? People are sick and perverted. You thought we have the simp problem. We got sick problems. But let's get on with tonight's. Also, speaking of love and all that other stuff, one person that did do it right. Congratulations, Solo, for getting married. And is it just me, or does everyone in the bloodline like chocolate and brown sugar? I mean, Roman, look at who Roman Reigns married. Look at who Jimmy Uso married. Look at who Solo married. The bloodline, Anna White likes brown sugar and chocolate. I'm just saying. Look at how The Rock came along. Soul Man, Rocky Johnson, and Ata, I believe The Rock's mother's name. I hope I got that correct. But let's get down to business with the bloodline opening up. And we got some real special guests on SmackDown tonight. One of the special guests was Cody Rhodes, who had a face to face confrontation with Roman Reigns. And it was a pretty interesting promo. Now, Roman obviously wasn't going to throw any shade towards Dusty Rhodes because everyone loved Dusty. So obviously, Dusty wasn't going to be dissed by Roman. However, Roman did say, whatever Dusty didn't teach you, I will. And Cody comes back and says, it's a necessity. The question is, will Cody Rhodes get the job done at WrestleMania? I honestly don't know. But in any event, our first match of the night, we have Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan. The first two, this was one of those moments where, like Shawn Michaels and the British Bulldog, Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan started the Rumble and ended the Royal Rumble, although Rhea won that match. However, Rhea Ripley would have a match with her tonight in which she would win. And sadly, there was a young woman in the audience, a young girl in the audience crying. So sorry about that. Later on tonight, the Judgment Day was not done because after Rhea took care of her business, it was now time for Dominic Mysterio versus Santos Escobar. Santos wanted to teach Dominic a lesson in respect, and obviously that didn't work out because despite it being a pretty good match and Santos fighting for Ray's honor, Dominic Mysterio, who spat on the mask, would win the match thanks to Rhea Ripley. And also, it's bad enough when you let your girlfriend take the restaurant bill, but to have her win the match for you, some man you are, just plain. In any event, I have to say, Dominic does give me a little bit of the original Eddie vibe, back when Eddie Guerrero had the mullet hairstyle. But I'm going to tell you right now, Dominic has nothing on Eddie Guerrero. Probably never will. I don't know. But in any event, he might be good someday, but Eddie's still the man. God rest his soul. Honestly, I think Eddie would turn in his grave seeing this. But in any event, Dominic won the match and ripped the mask. Michael Cole had a fit. I mean, Michael Cole responding, the way Michael Cole responds to Dominic is like how Tony Schiavone responds to MJF, or how Jim Ross used to respond to Triple H as a heel. So in any event, Michael Cole had a fit. And as Dominic was ripping the mask, Ray comes out and politely asks for the mask, but instead gets a cheap shot to the face. I'm telling you, Rey Mysterio and Dominic are going to happen. And it is going to be tagline the Master of the 619 versus the Master of the Simp 19. Now, I'm rooting for Rey Mysterio to win, though, even though they're probably going to put Dominic over. But I'm rooting for Rey. Never say never. Also, we saw a special WrestleMania parody of the Titanic, one of the longest movies I've ever seen, but hard to watch at the end. We had Bianca Belair, real life couple Bianca and Montez Ford, who was one of the stars of the Elimination Chamber, playing the role this week. What's the Hollywood parody for next week? I can't wait to see. Also, Drew comes out and calls out Walter, aka Gunther. I just don't really care for that G name because G word because it's controversial for certain reasons I'm not going to get into. But Walter and Drew called out Walter. Instead, Sheamus comes out and there's a little heat coming in. LA Knight comes out and then a New Day comes out and then Karrion Cross comes out with Scarlett and Karrion wipes out everyone. And one thing I will agree that Walter said is he is wanting a worthy competitor for WrestleMania. And I agree. So I would like to ask you guys, who do you think would make a good match for Walter at WrestleMania? We saw Sheamus and Walter go at it at Cardiff Wells, which was an excellent match. Who do you think? Piece of me is saying Drew versus Walter would make an excellent WrestleMania match for the Intercontinental Championship. In our SmackDown short tonight, we have Ronda Rousey. It was supposed to be a tag match, but there was some fighting going on backstage. But this is what I would rate a 2-star angle going on with Shayna and Rousey. Shayna versus Tegan was nothing more than a SmackDown short tonight. So it's not a lot of fire behind that particular angle with the women's theme. But I will tell you what is a little interesting is the Lashley versus Bray angle. Lashley came out tonight, and you know it's WrestleMania season when some of the guest stars from Raw are coming to SmackDown. And Lashley came out to call out Bray, got Uncle Howdy, whom I'm starting to think is Bo Dallas. Do you think Uncle Howdy is Bo Dallas? Let me know your thoughts. If so, then Bo Dallas is a high flyer for doing that elbow on LA Knight. In any event, moving forward, Lashley defends himself and takes down Howdy, but Howdy disappears into the night. I think Lashley versus Bray could be a good match. Now, with Brock versus Omos, however, let me talk about that real quick. What would be interesting? I don't think it's going to be epic, but I will say, imagine because keep in mind Brock Lesnar did F5 the Big Show. Big Show's 7 foot 500 pounds. So imagine Brock Lesnar F5 and someone that's 480 plus. That I would like to see. But moving forward, going over next, we have our main event match. We have Sami Zayn versus Solo Sikoa. Let me just say the angles with Sami Zayn. Let me say, in my personal opinion, the best parts of today's modern era are Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes, and the Bloodline angle. Even The Undertaker, one of my all-time favorites, complimented Sami Zayn months ago saying, how do you not enjoy this angle? Little did we know how interesting the angle was going to be. We had Solo versus Sami Zayn tonight. Solo would win the match, and they wouldn't leave well enough alone. Jimmy and Solo would attack Sami, but arguing who was going to do the Umaga bump that Umaga like move, Sami picked up a chair and defended himself long enough to get out of the ring and escape. But if Jey Uso doesn't show up next week, Jimmy's going to get the heat. All I know is this: it is a very interesting angle. I don't know if Cody's going to defeat the Tribal Chief at WrestleMania, but I do know the angles with Sami Zayn is very interesting. And I still believe that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn will face the Usos at WrestleMania, just like Rey Mysterio, Mr. 619, will face Mr. Simp 19 at WrestleMania. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section about what you thought about tonight's episode of Friday Night SmackDown and this review. I'm your host, Daniel Cody, and that's all the time I have for you today. And I'll be back with another review on all things wrestling. And let me just say, I'm really happy that Sami Zayn brought back his original theme, because that other theme he was coming out to was a theme that was going to give him a splitting headache. But nonetheless, we got the old Sami back, and that is awesome. So let me know what you think, and I'll be back next time. Have a great weekend, folks.